far beyond the others. So far, Aron had only managed to defeat a goblin king. Aron lost again, even though his speed had significantly increased. Cecil, however, was delighted, proud that her bodyguard was so strong. She encouraged Aron to ask Mihai to teach him swordsmanship, suggesting that Aron could become as strong as her brother. Aron liked the idea, but doubted Mihai would agree to teach him. At that moment, Mihai called Cecil and Thomas over to announce that he would be away for the next 3 years to fulfill his noble duties, which left Cecil in tears. The lord and lady seemed prepared for this news, having braced themselves since the count boasted about his daughter's lack of talent. The next day, the entire lord's family bid farewell to Mihai as he set off to fulfill his noble obligations. Aron, curious, asked Rickel what these duties entailed, but even Rickel was unsure. Before leaving, Mihai leaned in to remind Aron that he was a strong person and hoped Aron would protect his sister well. With that, Mihai departed on his carriage. The noble duties would keep him away for 3 years, by which time Aron planned to have left the lord's family and Cecil would be enrolled in a noble academy. Until then, Aron resolved to take good care of Cecil as Mihai had requested. 2 months after Mihai left for his noble duties, Aron had conquered a total of 52 goblin strongholds. The White Dragon Mountain range was nearly cleared of goblins. Aron, now at level 35, set his sights on the orc villages. The layout of these villages was similar to the goblin ones, so Aron decided to use the same tactics. This time, however, he added Boron for long-range support, as the knights were due to arrive the next day. The assault on the orc village began, with Aron leading his summoned army to the gates. His bears, seasoned in battle, easily overpowered the orcs in one-on-one combat. To counter the orc archers, Aron used Boron to shield the bears, then unleashed his spiders to control the orcs. After defeating the orcs at the gate, Aron led his troops deeper into the village. The orcs sounded the alarm, and a formidable army charged at Aron. He responded by summoning all his bears to confront them. The battle was fierce and time-consuming due to the orcs' greater strength. Suddenly, Aron sensed danger and called for Boron to quickly raise a protective shield. He initially thought it was the Orc King, but it turned out to be orc sorcerers. This was the first time Aron witnessed a monster using magic. Impressive as it was, they still had to be eliminated. The orc sorcerers targeted Aron, continuously bombarding him with spells. Though they couldn't injure Aron, they still made it difficult for him. When attacking Aron proved ineffective, they changed tactics, targeting areas where Aron's summoned army lacked defense. Aron couldn't allow them to cause chaos and pulled out his steel ball, aiming and striking the sorcerers in the face. A single hit was enough to kill these magic orcs, only rank C monsters. Aron wanted to continue the attack, but these orcs were too clever, quickly moving out of his range and then counterattacking. As the smoke cleared, the orc numbers were still overwhelming, and the situation was getting dire. Aron changed tactics, abandoning defense. After checking, he still had enough magic stones to resurrect 20,000 more bears, plus a recovery item made from a rank D monster, ensuring that his 30 warrior bears wouldn't fall. The fierce battle continued until the Orc King appeared, its oppressive presence causing Aron to feel a twinge of fear. This Orc King was on the same level as Madagalshu, making Aron's bears seem tiny in comparison. With just one blow, the Orc King killed 2 of Aron's warrior bears. Aron hurriedly summoned more, but the Orc King's pace of destruction was faster than Aron's summoning rate. Meanwhile, the magic orcs continued their barrage, overwhelming Boron. Aron was forced to use his bear warriors as a shield to protect himself as the Orc King decimated his bear army. Aron tried summoning more, but they were just fodder for the king. There seemed no way to win against the Orc King in this situation, and Aron considered retreating. Just then, the captain of the knights appeared, startling Aron. How did he arrive here? The captain had noticed Aron's bears, which could be problematic if he discovered their origin. Aron quickly recalled all his summons. The captain, sword in hand, confidently approached the Orc King without a trace of fear. Aron had heard about him, that he could single-handedly defeat Madagalshu. Today, Arun witnessed the captain's strength firsthand. The knight captain declared he would single-handedly defeat the Orc King and asked Brand and Arun to clean up the remaining orcs. Initially, Arun had planned to monopolize all the experience points here, but given the situation, it seemed he couldn't do much more. He focused on observing the strength of the two fighters. The knight captain faced the Orc King, seemingly exposing many vulnerabilities, which confused Arun. It seemed reckless, even for someone as strong as him. The Orc King swung its axe in fury, but the captain blocked it effortlessly with one hand and even repelled the king, astonishing Arun. He knew the captain was strong, but to overpower a rank B monster like the Orc King was incredible. Brand, however, was not surprised. He had followed the captain, known as the battle demon Xenoph, for a long time and was familiar with his overwhelming combat style. The Orc King, enraged by the previous blow, attacked Xenoph fiercely. Despite the disparity in their classes, Xenoph held no disadvantage. Meanwhile, Brand was ready for his task. As the magic orcs bombarded from a distance, Brand pinpointed their location and charged at them, defeating the rank C monsters with a single blow. Brand adeptly fought off a horde of orcs, handling them with ease. Back to Xenoph, he had already defeated the Orc King, showcasing incredible strength that kept surprising Arun. The technique Brand used seemed similar to the skill Karina had used. Arun realized that knights and priests each had their unique skills, yet he was clueless about his own. Xenoph didn't even need to use a skill to kill the Orc King, an absurd level of strength. After the Orc King was defeated, Xenoph asked Arun to help Brand with the cleanup, expecting the knight squad to arrive by nightfall. Seizing the opportunity, Arun asked to collect the magic stones from the orcs. Once the cleanup was done, Xenoph suggested burning the place down to prevent other monsters from resettling. He commended Arun for his excellent work, leaving the remaining tasks to his knights. That evening, Arun had dinner beside Xenoph. Xenoph didn't ask earlier, but now he was curious about why Arun had recklessly attacked the orc village. Before his arrival, Arun had already killed a total of 52 orcs, an achievement that greatly impressed Xenoph, more than he had anticipated. It turned out Xenoph had been aware of all Arun's activities, from the moment he noticed Arun in Karina's village. He knew Arun was no ordinary child. His suspicions grew when the forest near the Lord's house started showing signs of monster kills, and recently, he discovered several orc villages had been conquered, their magic stones all taken. Xenoph was sure these were Arun's achievements, done in his quest to challenge Mihai. Xenoph's curiosity was piqued about why a talented child like Arun was deemed talentless. He even consulted the gods to learn more. Normally, a child without talent wouldn't be memorable, but strangely, the gods remembered Arun vividly. It turned out Arun's stats were displayed in a way that the gods couldn't read, leading them to mistakenly assume he had no talent. Xenoph believed Arun had a unique talent of his own, a fact the Lord already knew. However, the Lord had allowed Arun to hunt monsters freely, which puzzled Arun. Xenoph didn't know the exact reason but decided he wouldn't report today's events to the Lord. In return, he asked Arun to report everything himself as a gesture of gratitude. To express his thanks, Arun offered to massage Xenoph's back, a back that had endured many trials and tribulations, covered in scars. To an outsider, it might appear frightening, but to Arun, it showed Xenoph's incredible strength. After more than a day, Arun returned to report everything to the Lord. His unauthorized outing was not reprimanded, instead, the Lord's family was worried about him. 2 weeks had passed since Arun was rescued by the Night Squad. It was time for his second assault on the Orc village. This time, Arun successfully defeated the Orc King, thanks to a well-devised plan. He sent 40 bears to attack from all sides, aiming to reduce the orc numbers as much as possible while prioritizing the elimination of the magic orcs to prevent them from joining the Orc King. The Orc King, facing 40 of Arun's bears alone, stood no chance. Indeed, failure is the mother of success, both in games and in reality. By November, Arun turned 11. In the 5 months since his first orc village raid, he had destroyed 20 orc villages. His efforts significantly accelerated the Lord's mining plans, reducing the timeline from 3 years to 2. Next spring, mining would commence. Everything was going smoothly, and Aron would soon have the strength to leave the Lord's house at 12 to start his adventure. One day, a royal messenger arrived with a letter from Mihai. Upon reading it, Lord Brabiel was visibly shaken. The news was from 3 months ago, and it informed them of Mihai's death on the battlefield. The Lord couldn't believe it. His son had just graduated and, as a member of a low-ranking noble family, should not have been assigned to such a dangerous task. The family was taken aback by the sudden tragedy. Aron remembered his last moment with Mihai, who seemed to have anticipated this and asked Aron to take care of Cecil. A heated argument ensued between Cecil and the Lord, as she grieved Mihai's death and angrily questioned the future obligations of nobility. Cecil was furious at being treated as a sacrificial pawn. Seeing the Lord's helplessness, Aron realized that low-ranking nobles couldn't defy royal commands. That night, the butler and Aron brought food to Cecil's room, but she locked herself in and refused to eat until the next morning. The house was gloomy with Mihai's death, as everyone dearly loved him. His loss was a heavy blow to them. Suddenly, a maid rushed in to announce Cecil's disappearance. The family panicked, searching for her. Aron found Cecil's window open, suggesting she had escaped that way. With the butler's permission, Aron went outside to search for Cecil. He summoned Hook, sharing its vision to search from the sky, hoping Cecil hadn't done anything rash. He found her sitting alone, clutching a keepsake from Mihai, crying. Cecil expected Aron to take her back home, but instead, with utmost respect, Aron expressed his loyalty, affirming that he was her faithful servant and would always be ready to protect her, wherever she was. Trying to act as if she didn't need anyone's care, Cecil's stomach betrayed her with its rumbling, as she hadn't eaten since the previous night. Aron, with a slight smirk, prepared some food for her. As Cecil ate, she cried, mourning her strong and kind brother Mihai. She couldn't understand why his life was cut so short and dreaded that she too might soon face the battlefield. Aron felt a pang of concern, knowing from his research that there were no signs of war with neighboring countries, making Mihai's battlefield death implausible. Aron suggested to Cecil that they should go out and explore, but she immediately refused, questioning how 2 children could survive outside. Aron had already thought this through and advised Cecil to return home for now. He proposed that once he turned 12, they could embark on adventures together. He mentioned a book about living freely, explaining that everyone has the right to choose their own path, hoping to encourage Cecil to make her own choices. His words enlightened Cecil, who decided to return home. At home, Lord Brabiel rushed to embrace Cecil, comforting her and assuring that she no longer needed to worry about noble duties. The missile mining project was about to commence, and upon its success and royal acceptance, Cecil would be exempt from noble obligations. Aron realized why the Lord was so eager to advance this project. If it had been completed sooner, perhaps Mihai wouldn't have had to fulfill his duty. Cecil immediately rejected her father's well-meaning offer, feeling obligated to fulfill her noble duty as his daughter. 6 months after Mihai's death, the Lord's family returned to normalcy. The night squad had completely eradicated the monster camps, and mining was set to begin after the summer. Aron, having cleared the orc villages, set his next target on a giant ant nest in the White Dragon Mountain. According to Levin, the nest housed about 1,000 ants, including a queen ant responsible for breeding. The nest entrance was tiny, allowing only 1 ant out at a time, so Aron's first task was to reduce their numbers. He summoned his bears to attack the nest, and the ants swarmed out, forcing Aron to deploy his full force. After a month of relentless battling, Aron felt exhausted. No matter how many he killed, more ants kept emerging, replacing their fallen. In a month, he estimated he had killed over 2,000, gaining substantial experience but struggling to collect magic stones. The difficulty in collecting stones meant it was time to change tactics. The second month of hunting ants was equally challenging. Just when Aron was pondering his next move, he noticed the ants were no longer emerging from the nest. The fact that the ants were no longer emerging from their nest meant their numbers inside were significantly reduced. Aron saw this as an opportunity for a final assault. He summoned the bird Horu to share its vision and scout inside the ant nest, which was like a maze, dark and narrow. Arin struggled to find the queen ant's chamber. He decided to first deal with the remaining ants in the nest, commanding his bears to attack. Despite a day-long exploration, he still hadn't found the queen's chamber. As evening approached, Arin knew he had to return to the Lord's house, but leaving now might mean missing a crucial opportunity. Luckily, Arin finally found the queen ant's chamber. He reorganized his forces, aware that the queen was a rank B monster and not to be underestimated. The chamber housed the queen ant and 10 worker ants. Arin led a small team into the nest, after months of waiting for this moment. He illuminated the chamber with a lantern and saw the queen ant, 3 times the size of the regular ants. He set up a bear frontline and commanded them to eliminate the worker ants first. The queen joined the battle but was slow, allowing Arin to exploit its sluggishness. Arin continuously replenished his forces as he battled. To his surprise, he defeated the queen ant with only 20 bears, a stark contrast to the 100 bears needed against the Orc King. It was too late to return home, so Arin decided to spend the night in the nest. He couldn't rely on Xenov to cover for him this time. To justify his absence, Arin took the queen ant's magic stone as a trophy. While collecting it, he discovered a shiny, sparkling stone in a corner, recognizing its significance. The next morning, Arin returned home to expected reprimands, but he was prepared. He explained his venture to eliminate the ant nest, surprising Lord Brabiel and Cecil.